Here is my investigation update for Monday, June 16th, 2026. Today I am walking through Mokotów, a quiet residential district in the south of Warsaw. Clean pavements, old trees, orderly streets. And while we take this walk together, I want us to think about something. Because what I am about to show you happened thousands of kilometers from here. But it affects every single person watching this, wherever you are in the world. Before we begin, thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sending this channel to people who need to see it. And don't forget to hit that hype button, or the like button, or whatever that thing is. It tells me you are here and I appreciate it. Alright, let's follow the money all the way to the top. Let's trace it. Now, let's begin. Every evening, you turn on the news in Nigeria and you are fed the exact same narrative. You hear about farmer-herder clashes in the Middle Belt. You hear about banditry in the Northwest. You see footage of destroyed villages, kidnapped citizens, and thousands of people fleeing their ancestral homes in places like Zamfara, Plateau, and Nasarawa. The media tells you this is an ethnic crisis. They tell you it is a religious conflict. They tell you it is poor cattle rearers fighting poor farmers for grass and water. But I want you to look at something they are hiding from you. Take a map of the terror attacks over the last 5 years. Look at the exact coordinates of the most violently depopulated villages. Now, take a geological map from the Nigerian Mining Cadastre Office. Look at the exact coordinates of the nation's richest newly discovered deposits of gold, lithium, and uranium. Lay the two maps on top of each other. The overlap is not a coincidence. It is an exact match. The violence is not random. The chaos is not religious. You are meant to look at the blood. You are not meant to look at the soil. Because while ordinary Nigerians are crying over the loss of life, a shadow network of billionaires, proxy politicians, and foreign extraction companies are moving into those exact abandoned lands to mine billions of dollars in solid minerals. They didn't want you to connect these dots because the terrorism you are watching is not a failure of security, it is a land clearance operation. To understand how this trick works, you have to understand the law. Look at the Nigerian Minerals and Mining Act of 2007, and specifically, look at the quiet administrative loopholes exploited between 2023 and 2026. By law, the federal government owns all the minerals under the earth. But the government issues exclusive prospecting licenses and mining leases to private companies. If you want to mine a specific area, you must get the consent of the local community living on that land before the Ministry of Solid Minerals can finalize your license. That is the law. But what happens if the community is gone? What happens if a violent, heavily armed militia burns down the village and forces the farmers into internally displaced persons camps? Suddenly, the land is designated as empty. The community consent clause is bypassed. The pattern begins to emerge. First comes the violence, then comes the displacement, then comes the corporate registration, then comes the heavy machinery. Look at the licenses issued in Zamfara's Anka and Bukuyum local government areas. Look at the lithium belts in Nasarawa. The entities holding these multi-million-dollar leases are not local communities. They are special purpose vehicles, SP verses, shell companies set up by high net worth individuals in Abuja and Lagos, routed immediately through offshore accounts in Mauritius and the British Virgin Islands. You don't need to buy the land if the owners run away. The chaos is functional. The bandits are not the masterminds, they are the foot soldiers for a corporate takeover. So, how do they actually do it? Let me explain the exact tactics used by this syndicate, the people we call the mineral barons. These are former governors, retired military generals, and politically exposed commodity traders. They operate in the shadows, but their footprints are everywhere. Step 1. Sponsor the instability. Weapons are funneled to local syndicates. The media calls them unknown gunmen, but their targets are highly specific. They attack the areas sitting on top of verified geological wealth. Step 2. Quarantine the zone. Once the locals are displaced, the area is declared a red zone. The Nigerian police force won't go there. The military sets up checkpoints miles away, citing strategic caution. Step 3. Extraction. With the public locked out and the press terrified to enter, the real operators arrive. Look closely at what happens next. Foreign extraction crews, often flown in from China or Eastern Europe, arrive on the sites. They do not travel with the Nigerian military. They are escorted by heavily armed, unregistered private paramilitary contractors. In the exact same forests where the government claims it is too dangerous to send soldiers to rescue kidnapped children, private mining companies are running 24-hour industrial extraction operations. They use massive excavators. They use industrial water pumps. Think about that. Bandits in the forest supposedly cannot be found. Yet a 50-ton excavator is operating in the exact same forest, running on thousands of liters of diesel every single week. How does the diesel get there? Who supplies the heavy machinery? The state is not absent. The state has been privatized. You cannot hide thousands of tons of lithium ore in your pocket. You cannot sneak industrial quantities of raw gold onto a commercial flight. This requires a massive logistics network. It requires the active complicity of federal institutions. Let me show you how the system physically operates. Every day, heavy-duty trucks leave the Middle Belt. They are loaded with high-grade lithium ore. They must travel hundreds of kilometers down to the Apapa port in Lagos or the Onne port in Rivers State. They pass through customs. They bypass the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC checkpoints. How? They use a tactic called misinvoicing. Look at the customs declarations. The trucks are not registered as carrying lithium, which is worth thousands of dollars per ton. The paperwork declares the cargo as raw earth, zinc, or even gravel. The customs officers at the ports stamp the documents. No chemical testing is done. The port authorities wave them through. For the gold in the northwest, the tactic is different. They don't use trucks, they use the sky. Look at the aviation records from regional airstrips in the north. Unregistered private jets land in broad daylight. There is no passenger manifest. VIP convoys drive directly onto the tarmac. The cargo, unrefined gold bars, is loaded onto the aircraft. Because the operators possess political clearance, the cargo is declared as diplomatic baggage or shielded by VIP protocols. The flight takes off. The destination is Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates. No alarms ring, no arrests are made. The exports were technically cleared. The wealth was successfully stolen. If you are finally seeing the connection between the violence in the news and the wealth under the ground, hit the like button right now. Subscribe to Historic Capital. The public was never supposed to know this. Let us follow the money out of the country. This is where the operation becomes a global mechanism. The gold arrives in Dubai. The lithium arrives in China. The foreign buyers do not care about the blood spilled to get the minerals. They only care about the paperwork. And because the mineral barons secured official licenses from the Mining Cadastre Office, the paperwork is legally clean. The minerals are sold on the global market for hundreds of millions of United States dollars. By Nigerian law, if you export a commodity from the country, the dollar proceeds must be repatriated through the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. Those dollars are supposed to enter the national reserves. But remember the trick we uncovered in Act 1? The registered owners of these mining leases are offshore special purpose vehicles. The money does not return to the CBN. The money is deposited into private accounts in Geneva, the Cayman Islands, and Dubai. The wealth of the nation is completely severed from the people of the nation. The trade was legal, but the reality is an extraction of national life. Now, I want to connect this directly to you, to the ordinary citizen walking the streets of Lagos, Kano, or Port Harcourt. You might think, I am not a farmer in Zamfara. I am not a miner in Nasarawa. How does this affect me? Listen very carefully. When billions of dollars in natural resources leave your country and the dollar payments never return to your central bank, your country is systematically starved of foreign exchange. Because the CBN does not have those dollars, it cannot defend the naira. The naira collapses. When the naira collapses, the cost of importing fuel skyrockets. The cost of importing wheat, rice, and medicine skyrockets. Look at what you are currently going through. Look at the suffering. You are paying double for transportation. You are paying triple for a bag of rice. You are watching your savings lose half their value in 6 months. You are paying for their extraction. The inflation destroying your life is the direct mathematical consequence of the dollars they refuse to bring back. The wealth is literally under your feet, but you are starving while they are flying private jets to Dubai, funded by the dirt they stole from beneath your burning villages. This is not a mistake. It is an incentive structure. The politicians get their bribes. The global markets get their batteries. The mineral barons get offshore wealth, and you get inflation, violence, and poverty. But in early 2026, something threatened the machine. The Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NEITI, finally began pushing to audit all active mining licenses. Digital transparency groups started pulling satellite imagery. From space, you cannot hide a mine. The satellites showed the truth. Massive, undocumented industrial mining occurring directly inside the zones the government claimed were too dangerous to enter. They proved that the boundaries of the original licenses were being completely ignored. The public started asking questions, but the mineral barons were prepared. They did not panic. They just activated their legal traps. When threatened with license revocation, these shadow entities deploy bilateral investment treaties. They use the very laws of the country against the country. They tell the federal government, if you touch our 50-year lease, we will take you to international arbitration in London. We will freeze Nigeria's assets abroad. Think about the sheer audacity of this system. They sponsor the violence to clear the land. They exploit loopholes to take the licenses. They smuggle the wealth out through corrupted ports. They starve the economy by hoarding the dollars. And then they use international law to protect their theft. The system functions perfectly. The history of capital is the history of control. What the media told you was a tragedy of ethnic clashes and random banditry is actually the most sophisticated corporate real estate heist in African history. The blood was for the land was for the minerals. The people who are supposed to protect you are the same people issuing the licenses to the entities displacing you. The money did not disappear. It is sitting in Dubai. The resources did not vanish. They are powering electric vehicles in Europe. The public was never supposed to connect the violence in the north to the inflation in the south. But now you know. The gatekeepers changed. The system survived. Because power is rarely hidden. It is written inside the contracts. And contracts leave trails. Follow the trail. Follow the ownership. Follow the money. You are watching Historic Capital.